This story is basically Labour cabinet member says one vaguely based thing and the entire world melts down because you can't offend a rich person.
The thing is, it wasn't even necessarily about offence. It's just you can't say a thing that is literally 100% true. P&O Ferries is a rogue operator. They broke the law. They committed a criminal offence in sacking people without due process and trying to fire and rehire them. Like, they literally broke the law, and because they're rich, they can get away with it. That's how the system works. If you have enough money that the government wants you for quote-unquote inward investment, right, you can get away with breaking the law even when the quote-unquote Labour Party is in government. Yet Keith Starmer, Sir Stonger himself, Sir Keith Starmer KC, out here says, actually, I would much rather suck up to the Saudi billionaires because they are people who fund the Tony Blair Institute, but rather than back up my own transport secretary in correctly describing P&O Ferries as being a rogue employer, because they literally are.
Let's talk then about business and Labour's relationship with them. I'm going to play our audience, in case they missed it, what your colleague, the Transport Secretary, Lou Haigh, said about DP World that owns P&O Ferries this week.
They're a rogue operator. We're cracking down on the way that they've treated employees, and we want to see them mirror the standards of other operators that come in and out of Great Britain's waters.
They will not travel with P&O Ferries?
No, I've been boycotting P&O Ferries for 2.5 years, and I'd encourage consumers to do the same.
She's lost the whip, I'm sure. I haven't checked, but I'm sure she must have done.
She's literally one of the only good members of the cabinet. Like, I have time for Lou Haigh, I have some time for Ed Miliband, and then immediately gets thrown under the bus. It just shows you that there is no room for being at least even a tiny bit left-wing in the Starmer party. Just no space for it whatsoever.
And 100%. I guarantee you, she'll be removed in whenever he does his first reshuffle, probably next Tuesday by the sounds of things. She'll be gone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Morgan McSweeney 100%. Will get the hammer being swung right in her direction. She will fall at the axe of the cabinet reshuffle, almost certainly. Because again, it's not on brand, it's not on message, which is the stupidest thing, that you're not allowed to have an opinion, especially not an opinion that should be basic Labour Party opinion, that rogue employers shouldn't be allowed to engage in trading within the United Kingdom if they break the law. It should be really, really simple. It especially burns when they're trying to ride high on the new workers' rights bill, this new deal for working people that they touted as a big piece of legislation in the run-up to the election. It was one of their most liked policies by the electorate in the run-up to the election that got people's votes, this increases of rights of working people. And the slightest pushback from one employer who has links to somebody who is a think tank that helps set policy for the Labour Party, and immediately all of that goes out the window. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, we don't want to inconvenience you, Mr. Businessman, even if you are a criminal. Ridiculous.
I'm actually very right-wing, and I loved it.
We have always said, and we believe, that what happened with P&O Ferries was wrong. I believe even the Conservative government at the time was clear that they believed it was wrong. The problem
they did,
was it was lawful then. It's not going to be lawful now. And so we have changed the law. We got part of our employment rights bill is what does this, and therefore
when they got rid of some staff and then rehired them.
Fire and rehire, and a particularly egregious case. So we were clear about that. I'm not going to recall from that position, but where companies accept that we're not allowing that to happen anymore, and we can work with them on investments into the country, we can have a conversation with them, we will do. So it's not the government's position to boycott them, but we are clear, we do not want this country competing on fire and rehire. We are changing that. This week we've seen that employment rights bill giving more security for people in some of the lowest paid insecure work in the country, at the same time as having our investment summit bringing billions to the country. That is pro-business, pro-worker in action, and that is the government's position.
No, it's not.
Are P&O Ferries a rogue?
It's not pro-business, pro-worker. When the business says, can we please do trading even though we're criminals, you say, yeah, go on then, why not? That's just not pro-worker. You're just pro-business at this point. But you can't claim this. This is ridiculous.
Racer, as she said.
No, that's not the government's position. But I think we've got to make clear that we do not support fire and rehire. What we believe, and we are showing, we can improve the labour market, improve people's employment rights, at the same time as attracting the kind of investments which we need as a...
So hang on, you've just said clearly it's not the government's position that P&O and DP World are a rogue operator. There was a government press release that said it was a rogue employer that went out in the name of the government. We can show it there. There's a quote. Comments on an official government press release calling them a rogue employer. So, but that's not the government's position.
Look, I'm happy to clarify that. I speak for the government on business issues as the business secretary. We will always make clear what happened was wrong. That's why we're changing the law to make sure it can't happen again.
But hang on,
where
so the
companies
Transport
accept that
Secretary
change.
is not speaking for the government. You are speaking for the government.
Yeah, well, no, why would a Transport Secretary speak on a matter of transportation? That's crazy talk.
Absolutely incredible. Just another moment where they could have actually done something good for once and been seen to be somebody who had the people on side, and they've literally just shut it through the wall. They've just incinerated this opportunity completely. Like, one of the biggest problems in democratic politics in the UK at the moment is this idea of there being one rule for them and another rule for us, right? Partygate was where it kind of started. Giftgate has been another continuation of that, along with all of the stuff the Tories kind of brought through as well. And one thing that people also feel is kind of morally bereft of this kind of part of politics is the way in which you treat the powerful and the powerless. Not just in political situations, but in economic situations too. And people feel like rogue employers getting away with it. They look at the water bosses looking at them getting away with it and realising they can literally commit crimes and all they get is a fine that's built into their profit and loss calculations and still get a bonus as CEOs at the end of the day, right? So people feel like this is something that is morally unfair. They could have taken a principled position that would get the public on side here, and they've just not done it. They've not done it. It's just pathetic because they're cucked. It's just cucked.
I can tell you what the government's position is, and I can also tell you, by the way, that I work with the transport sector on a whole range of issues integral to getting inward investment into the country. She's part of the team that has produced and you will see in just a day's time the scale of investments that can come to the UK because of the different platform.
But this is really important, because one thing that you've said lots of times in this studio, that Keir Starmer has told the public many times, is that Labour will bring clarity and they will bring competence. And they will give a clear message at all times, particularly to business. And that here we have, in a matter of days, the Transport Secretary giving one position, the Business Secretary then saying that's not the position, an official piece of government communication going out into public saying another position. It doesn't look very good, does it? It looks messy.
I'm pleased to be able to put what the government's position is. I'm pleased to be able to tell you we are stopping fire and rehire. DP World are coming to the summit. The investment will go ahead. So I think that's
that
what
will go ahead. So they will spend £1 billion in this country, even though Louise Haigh clearly offended them.
It will go ahead. And look, we're a serious government. Where things like this
Clearly offended them. Oh no.
A DP World triggered by the Transport Secretary accurately describing their actions as an employer, or indeed Keir Starmer accurately describing their actions, saying what P&O Ferries have done is disgusting. That's a statement that he made personally, the 17th of March 2022.
I feel slightly bad because I think DP World are really getting it from both ends now. And that's...
Hey!
We know sometimes little things like this crop up. We'll fix them.
It's not a little thing, is it? There's £1 billion on the table here.
And I just think you have to take that step back and say, this is a government that is improving people's security in the workplace across the board and attracting the key flagship investments necessary to take the economy forward. That's what it's about.
But when you were in opposition, you used to call for the last government to suspend contracts and licences with this business. So is it just the case that now you're in the government, you need the cash, so you'll do a deal?
No, it's now the case that as we're in government, we can stop what happened to P&O Ferries happening again, and where people can accept that's changing, can work with us, can bring investments. Of course, we'll talk to people wanting to bring money to the country. But at the same time, we don't just want growth. We want growth that every person feels and it benefits their lives. That's why you've got to tackle some of these parts of the employment law framework, which we inherited.
They do want everybody to benefit. Both rich people in Britain and rich people in Saudi Arabia are going to benefit as well.
Have you considered that they don't see borders when it comes to rich people?
Exactly.
They are internationalists for rich people, okay?
And we're doing it at the same time as those investors still want to come to the UK. That is important. That is how you make an economy work for people in a way it hasn't worked for the previous 14 years.
And would you and your family use P&O Ferries?
I have not had to use a ferry recently. If a company
That's not
can
what you
accept
asked.
the employment law...
No one asked about your recent transport history, mate. They said, are you boycotting P&O Ferries? Would you use them? If you had to take a ferry somewhere.
And apparently, thank you for this link as well. Thank you for this link as well, Ben. On the 23rd of the 3rd, 22, Keir Starmer challenged Boris Johnson to suspend all government business with P&O Ferries and DP World until they reinstate the workforce. None of the 786 crew P&O sacked have been reinstated, and they are going to allow them to continue investing.
Awesome. So He's even sold out from his already sell-out shithouse position anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They apparently were lined up for £50 million of taxpayers' money under the Freeport scheme, which, of course, that's not being getting rid of either. The Freeport and special
Tory
economic
shit,
zones.
yeah. I love swimming in the sea of change.
Well, to be fair, he is giving us change, i.e. changes from his positions that he held just 2 years ago.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Adults are in the room, right?
Work that
Adults are in the room. Don't you love it? All the
this government is about good jobs for people and can do that in a way whilst making a contribution to the UK, I would use that company, yes.
And just to clarify, the press release that we showed was a press release from when you were in opposition. So just to be clear about that.
Yeah, just to be clear, you're shit at your job. And the other quote-unquote journalists in your organisation are shit at their job. That's a very, very, very basic piece of work that you managed to completely cock up, you fucking waster.
You are launching an industrial strategy tomorrow as this investment summit is getting going. But there are big things that have already happened since you've been in power. We know many jobs have been lost at Port Talbot in Wales, where there's a steel plant. And Scotland's last remaining oil refinery, Grangemouth, is going to close. And there are no signs of the government.
True, but have you considered all of the Uber Eats delivery jobs that have been created that no one can fucking live on?
Absolutely, because one thing is important to understand about the Workers' Rights Bill is it's only going to apply to people on normal employment contracts. There were originally plans to ensure that the New Deal for Working People sorted out the gig economy, which again, I believe personally to be the biggest workers' rights fight of this generation. And they took it out to make sure they continue to appeal to the sector, essentially, against the wishes of the trade unions who they were supposed to be consulting on this. It's why one of the many reasons that Unite and GMB walked out of the National Policy Forum meeting over issues with the Workers' Rights Bill. And as far as I'm concerned, this is ideological treason. Now, there are many things which fall into that category that the Labour government have done, but to be named the Labour Party, to be funded by what used to be the majority of the trade unions, but now partially by the trade unions, and to water down your Workers' Rights Bill to explicitly not include the most important part of our economy that diminishes workers' rights, the move towards a casualised workforce and independent contractors. Again, it's ideological treason. It's the only way you can describe it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Completely. It's leaving the most vulnerable sections of society completely at the mercy of, well, thieves, ravaging wolves and thieves.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.